Hey guys, Chris here with the Blue Collar Success Group back for another vendor voice. We have one of our amazing vendor partners on with us, Sean Smith with EverConnect. Sean, how you doing, man?
Doing great, Chris. How you doing, man?
Good, man. I'm doing fantastic. I wanted to get going in this vendor voice. This one's specifically about marketing. So if you're looking for marketing and leads, hang around. You're definitely going to want to hang around. We'll do our best to make sure we get you good, valuable information at the same time, deliver to you some good entertainment through this video. So, Sean, we're really excited to have you on. It's the first time we've had you guys on with one of our vendor voices.
Yeah, that's correct.
We introduced you to our team and got you exposure to our team. And I said this before we got on for those that say things like, "Oh, Chris, I don't do video." We hear that a lot. Well, nobody does video really good without Hollywood. So what you get today, what you see is what you get with Blue Collar. That's just how we work. Well, let's jump into this. I was super excited when we brought you on to be today because today we're going to talk about leads. And when we talk leads, there's so many types of leads, but we're going to talk two specific types of leads today. We're going to talk about the digital lead online, and then we're going to talk about a printed lead through print mail. And so, Sean, maybe let's jump in. I want to talk first about this whole online lead thing because I know that this is like the 800-pound gorilla that we need to talk about as it relates to digital. Um, you guys would consider yourself a lead aggregator, is that correct?
Yeah, we fall into that space for sure.
Okay. So for those before you're like, oh no, I've had a bad experience with fill in the blank. I can personally attest to these guys. I use these guys in my business through their print and through their digital. And so I live by one rule, Sean: beat them or join them. And that was always my mantra when I was like, we can either fight the lead aggregators or we can join them and leverage them. And I would say for the most part, lead aggregators that were what I consider to be above board, right? Not these sleazy kind of tactical sell you stuff. So let's talk about the lead aggregation model specifically on the digital side. Sean, maybe share with our audience today a little bit about what you guys do on the digital side.
Yeah, so we always view it as like we're just another revenue stream, right? Another opportunity for you to take up real estate in those little digital spaces, mainly within the paid search ads, right? We do have our own SEO working behind it. We do have our own paid search team managing it. But basically, all we are is just another, another way for another line in the water for you to catch fish.
Well, Sean, so when I think about this, where if I'm in a market, I'm HVAC, plumbing, electrical, or some other trade, and I am spending money in paid
Mhm.
search terms, you guys also have a budget that you're doing that in a market. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So that being said, whether I want to be okay with it or not, you guys are going to be in my market fishing for the same kind of customers that I'm fishing for. Is that kind of a fair assumption there?
It's a very fair assessment because we're going to be there. Maybe one of your competitors is going to be there. It's just a way for you to join into a network and potentially receive more volume based off those keyword terms.
So, Sean, my experience when it comes to pay per click, and I'm just going to use that as an example, and I want to say this: don't get hung up on the word pay per click, because here's what I'm hearing people say: I say, "Oh, I quit using pay per click because the cost per lead is, or the cost per watch this, the cost per click is so high." But really, at the end of the day, it's not really about the cost per click. It's not really about the cost per lead. It's about the ROI that the lead gets you. So if you're in a market where you get a high ticket out of that lead, then it might make sense for you. But I couldn't imagine somebody's out there paying, $100 for a service and repair lead, right? That doesn't necessarily make sense. So what we've learned is that sometimes they may not click on my ad because they see my company name in the URL and think, oh, I don't want to use that company. Let me try someone else. So, Sean, tell me maybe a little bit, how might I know if I go to a pay per click section? How might I know if EverConnect or lead aggregators such as you guys are in my market doing that?
Right. So usually you'll see a non-branded industry specific like landing page or URL. So like For us, it's plumbinglocal.com. And when the consumer sees that, they're inclined to click on it because it presents itself like a local directory of approved vendors. That's kind of how we present it and how our websites look.
Yeah. And that's going to make a lot more sense when we move into the print portion of this interview of the vendor voice. Maybe tell me a little bit more. What would the customer experience look like once they click on one of your ads? What kind of transpires after that?
Yep. So we have our ad. It looks, very, professionally done. Obviously, we build websites as well, so we have our own capabilities. But from their mobile device, it's going to be click to call immediately. If not, they're prompted. Call to action is to dial an 800 number. Everything is going to be phone call related. We do not get into the forms.
Okay.
And from there, it's to be connected to a service provider in your area. Please enter your zip code. Calls recorded for quality. So
Okay.
really, the call to action is to make them make that phone call.
So you mean it's not like they get put into a round robin where six people are going to jump on this one lead and start trying to work that lead all at once? Is that who you guys are and what you do?
We are an exclusive phone lead generator. It doesn't matter which platform you're under, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, always.
Okay. And from a lead aggregator standpoint, Sean, maybe for those that don't understand, there's a couple of ways. Hey, Sean, we sent you 30 leads your way. Do I pay for all 30 leads or how does that work?
It has to sit, depending upon the platform, it has to hit some sort of performance metric, right? So the pay per valid call platform, 33 mile radius, has certain criteria that we're listening for before we would mark it billable or not billable based upon, how that conversation goes. Best Pick Reports, who I know you've dealt with in the past, no 800 numbers, no spam. Like those things are calls that you're not paying for.
Sure, but not in other words, somebody's calling. I'm a plumber and they're calling to get their dishwasher fixed. And maybe I'm like, yeah, we don't do that kind of work. So I wouldn't necessarily pay for that lead. Is that an example?
Correct. That would fall under appliance repair.
Sure. Okay, cool. Well, we talked a little bit about lead aggregators and listen, my friends, my fellow contractors out there, lead aggregators are going to be in your market and you can't stop them. So you have to make one clear choice. Either I'm going to fight them in the in the ad space and you're going to fight them whether or not you're using them or not. And this is one of part of my strategy, Sean, is I was like, well, if they're giving me good leads and there's just watch this. Let's just say there's four ads running, one of which is mine and one of which is yours, and I'm on your model. I now have a 50% chance of winning that lead versus a 25%. Or example, there's three at the top. It's me, you, and another competitor have a 66% chance of actually getting that lead. So what you're doing with lead aggregators is you're actually increasing your visibility, which creates the next level of opportunity for you in your business. I want to shift gears over to this one. I want to say, let me just say this: print is not dead. Sean, tell us a little bit about why we know print's not dead.
When we acquired Best Pick Reports a couple of years ago, being from the digital side, I literally thought like, what the heck are we doing? Like and then you actually see the numbers and you see the phone calls and you see the satisfaction rate and you see the actual retention year over year of those clients and those books, and in particularly those three main categories. They were the breadwinners of the home services that are in that book: plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. They create the most volume and have the highest quality and the highest conversion as well. So it is definitely not dead. It is well and alive. But I do also want to think that it's a little different in a guidebook like Best Pick Reports versus like a magazine.
Mm.
Magazine is more advertising. The guidebook is all trackable and performance marketing.
Well, and I'll just for those that have leveraged best picks or the five star magazine, I just want to say it's amazing because it comes to the house. It almost looks like this. It's probably not a good probably not a good visual to use today, especially in the climate that we live in. But it almost looked like this government official or like this entity that has created this book that went to a market and said, "Hey, we're telling you who the best contractors are." And so, if I open it up, I find my quote category. Tell me a little bit, Sean, about like I'm once again very familiar, but I think our audience needs to hear what might a consumer see about me and about my business where this is going to be a little bit different than the traditional advertising.
Right. So it's not glossy. We're not doing any promotions. It's just basically a write up on your business. We transfer over your Google reviews, and then, are your employees drug tested, licensed, insured, bonded, like all that stuff is presented to the customer so that they can make an educated choice on which service provider they want to call. And they know that the contractor has to qualify to be in there. That's the value prop for the homeowner to actually use it, because we guarantee the contractor's work up to a certain dollar amount.
Boom, there you go. I can speak to these books. Those things were gold for me. And here's what's funny, Sean. I'm gonna give a little bit of a shameless plug, but I knew when that book was going to drop. I just knew that calls were going to start coming in. And this and I don't know, Sean, I'm putting you on the spot. Do you guys have any study or statistics on the shelf life of those books versus, quote, your print magazine that gets thrown away?
So since they come out twice a year, we're actually experimenting with maybe going 3 times a year.
Okay.
But since they come out twice a year, obviously the initial drop, the first month and a half, first 60 to 90 days is where your highest volume is. It does drop off, but the calls do continue.
Hmm.
And then when we hit them again in the summer, same thing. It picks up, you get the spike, and then it kind of plateaus out. So we want to keep it kind of coming in year round versus everybody gets a home mag, everybody gets a golden clipper, everybody gets, said market magazine, and you throw it away as soon as you get it. This does look very official.
Hmm.
I use the term boring
Yeah.
uh, a lot when I describe it, because it's very, one's green and white, one's blue and white. It's all black and white print.
Yep.
There's no bells and whistles on it. It's just factual information about the service provider in that market.
And so it is because it's a print and it goes in, there is a 12-month commitment on that. Is that correct, Sean?
Correct. There is a 12-month commitment on the print.
Yeah, I thought so, and that's going to work well for our contractors because this ensures that I lock it out. And so for those that are in another what I'm gonna call shared mailing, there is no exclusivity in that. I used to try to negotiate that stuff with some of my shared mailings of like, hey, you can't let more than this many people in. I'm going to sign a long term. They're like, no, man, we got to go get business. And so, all right, great. Well, let them go get business. This is what I love about this book. Sean, tell them a little bit about how many contractors can get in that book in a market.
So it's dependent upon the service vertical, but typically those big three, it gets capped at five.
Okay.
It gets capped at five. And really, honestly, the drop off in call volume between 1 and 5, position 1 through 5, is maybe less than 10-15%.
Yeah.
There's not that much of a ratio difference. The first spot might get, 3 or 4 more% than the second spot, and then so on and so forth as you move down the chain. So there's value in it, and regardless of what position you're in, because you might be in the first position on page 1, but on page 2, the third person is.
Sean, I don't know if I've told you this in the past in any of our conversations, but I'm gonna go all the way back. You ready? I'm gonna go all the way back to 2005. You ready? 2005. And for those that are looking, you're like, hell, some of our listeners might have not even been born then. I don't know. That was 20 years ago, okay? 20
Oh,
years ago, this magazine worked. I was a technician in the field, and I remember when I would run that green book. That's what we called it, the green book. When we run those leads on that green book, it was a great customer because in many cases, that customer was a little bit different than the average. And I think we found that our average tickets close rates were better because of the green book lead, also known as, Sean, tell them what that green book's called.
5-star rated.
5-star rated book. I remember the gentleman that sold us on that. And then as I owned and operated in a different market that I relocated to, as soon as I got to the market, I was like, ooh, is 5-star book available here? So I saw you guys out, right? Because I knew how good of a lead source, how good the leads were, and they're not good. How does that work? I just pay to be in the book, or is that also a pay per call model as well?
So there is an APF, an annual participation fee, and then it is on a per call basis. And again, it has to hit a certain metric, for it to be billable. And roughly, I want to say about 60-70% of the phone calls that come through hit that metric of being over 30 seconds, it not being spam, it not being an 800 number. And then you still do have a designated account manager that if you need to, touch base with on some issues, you have that as well. But yeah, it's both.
Yeah. And Sean, I'm so sorry. I totally did not even introduce you as far as like position, but Sean heads up partnerships and he is also the sales director for them. I'm excited to have him on just simply because as a contractor, you're always looking to elevate yourself. And I'm a big fan of marketing. Get really good at one thing. And as you get good at one thing, look to expand into another thing. So this may not be for everybody. And I'd say this, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but the market that you're in may already be locked out for you. And this is not a scarcity play, but I highly recommend if you need leads, you need to get in touch with them. And so, Sean, I'm going to shift gears for a minute. Maybe let's talk a little bit about EverConnect. Tell us about the evolution of EverConnect.
So we are a part of a much larger entity called EverCommerce. So basically, what they did was they bought up 10 different marketing agencies and lead generation companies, and then they basically consolidated them all under one roof. The idea being we don't want to take your square peg to try to fit our round hole. We don't want to be a one trick pony. Businesses come in all shapes and sizes. They're at different points of their business life cycle. So we wanted to create options for a contractor to come in and say, okay, I'm comfortable with 33-mile radius because I can turn it on and off as I need it. I'd really like to be a best pick reports, but if I get 100 phone calls next month, I might not be able to afford it. So like you have different needs for different businesses. And then as well as, some people want full agency, they want website development, they want increased SEO presence. So the idea is as our clients grow, they can switch to a different product or bolt on additional product if they're still scaling.
Awesome, Sean. Thank you. I think that, everything for me is about, and I've always felt this way, Sean. I'll just say this for our listeners and our viewers here that I've never felt like vendors were like another, vendor. And let me put it this way. Uh, be careful of how you treat your vendors because they can help you or they can hang you the bird, right? And so, Sean, maybe tell me a little bit about what your goal is for contractor growth and how do you guys make sure that happens?
Yeah, so kind of mentioned before, like just not being a one trick pony. So having multiple solutions under one roof, a contractor can choose what they feel comfortable with. And as their life cycle grows, we're even evolving as a company, right? So we didn't start off with just 33-mile radius. We bolted on Keyword Connect, which is a direct branded campaign that's still a pay per call. We have Best Pick Reports. So we are continuing to evolve with our customers. We're getting ready to launch in the portal. We have one unified portal now, since if your people are using multiple solutions, where the contractor can go and see where they're getting most of their leads from within the EverConnect field. And we're building out a two-way communication system to be able to see revenue that is generated off the contractor's jobs so that we can see what keywords or what resource was generating those higher revenue generating jobs
Hmm.
and plug more of our own resources into that so that, hey, we all like higher ticket items,
Yeah.
right? If we can produce more of that, we have happier clients and businesses that are growing, they can spend more money.
Sweet. So, uh, Sean, really quick, I want to just do a couple of things before we wind up here. And thank you for everyone for watching this. I hope you find value in this. And once again, this is our opportunity. We call it our vendor voices. We bring in our vendor partners that we believe these people are here to help you build and grow your business. And Sean's been so kind to share his time and his expertise with us today. Sean, if someone inside or outside of the blue collar success group membership wanted to get a hold of you or your company, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Oh, they can call me direct at 440-561-0409 or email me, S as in Sam, Smith, actually S as in Sean, but S as Smith at EverConnect. Pretty easy. Smith is spelled same way it is 99.9% of the time.
Awesome. So I want to make sure once again, Sean Smith with EverConnect on. Thank you so much, Sean. Any kind of final thoughts before we end up on my favorite part of the vendor voice interview?
You know, I the president of the company of EverConnect right now is the same guy that hired me when we were privately held, little 33-mile radius, 9-person office. And as it's grown, I think that vision of sustainable growth was shared with our contractors too. Like
Mm.
it wasn't meant to be just, we were always about the contractor because we know that, tend to be salt of the earth people just trying to put food on their table, keep their employees food on their table as well. So we try to keep a very open mind, but like we want a team growing together really is really what the goal is.
Which is why, Sean, we don't just call them vendors. We refer to them as vendor partners, and super grateful, Sean, that you would come in and share your time today. But listen, we could not have a vendor voice without my favorite part, the fun facts finale. I almost wish I had one of those drums like I was in a DJ booth. I could play the drums on this one. So, Sean, this is going to be some random questions we're going to ask you for those that like entertainment. Here's the entertaining piece. All right, cool. Sean, if you could instantly master one skill or hobby, what would it be?
One skill or hobby, if I could instantly master one skill or hobby, I'd like to actually be able to do the trades that I'm selling. You know?
Hey, hang on, wait. We got to create some division here. So I'm going to ask you a question. Would you
Sure.
be a plumber, an HVAC tech, or an electrician?
Well, my father-in-law is an electrician, but I would say I'd go HVAC. That way we can diversify
Ah,
and fix what in the family.
oh, sorry. Sorry, plumbers and electricians. We got the out on that one. We did not get it. All right, cool. Sean, what's the most random thing on your bucket list?
Random thing on my bucket list. We want to go back to the homeland, Italy.
Oh, sweet, man. Awesome. So I would like to do that. Sean, I got just a couple more. If
Sure.
you could swap lives with any animal for one day, which one would it be?
Any animal. Wow. This is going to sound surprising. Elephant.
Elephant.
They have the
Any
best
insights there?
memory. They have the longest standing memory. And I wish I could retain some of the things that, like when my kids were little, in better detail.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome, man. I'm going to give you a really good, fun one at the end. You ready?
Yeah.
Sean, this is the debate of a lifetime. What goes better together, peanut butter and jelly or peanut butter and chocolate?
Oh, peanut butter and chocolate, hands down. It's not
Oh,
even
there
close.
you heard it.
Not
You
even
heard it.
close.
So if you could get some chocolate on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, that is called the triple win for sure. Sean, thank you, my friend, for hanging out for Vendor Voices. For those that want to get in touch with Sean, more about his business, he gave you his contact. For more about the Blue Collar Success Group, don't forget you can always find us on our website at www.thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com. And we'll be glad to connect with you and help you with anything that we can. Remember, we're here to accelerate the path of success for you. Sean, thank you so much, my friend. We look forward to seeing you again, and take care.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Thank you for watching this video and subscribing. Do us a favor, comment below and tell us what your thoughts are and what your takeaways are. Remember, you're either winning or you're learning.